Welcome back. I'm still with my guests tonight, representatives of student organizations DASO, SASCO, and the EFFSC, that is Student Command. And please join our conversation using the hashtag #TheModise Network. Right, now you have isolated the issues. I've told you what they are, but the president at least agrees with you on this specific issue of unemployment. Let's hear what President Cyril Ramaphosa is saying here.
The state that we are in as a nation is that while poverty declined significantly following the democratic breakthrough of 1994, we have seen reverses in recent years. Poverty levels rose in 2015, unemployment has gone up and inequality has persisted. For several years, our economy has not grown at the pace needed to create enough jobs so that we can lift our people out of poverty.
And of course, I think the president in that clip is speaking to economic growth more than actually the question of employment. Let me hear your views, Yanga, as a former leader of DASO. What do you think about the performance of the South African economy? What do you think is wrong with this system?
Okay, I'll just touch base on what has been the conversation about unemployment overall this month. I had a privilege of listening to his speech last week. One thing which he raised was that the main cause of unemployment was the fact that big companies, when graduates or young people seek employment, they seek experience. I then concluded to myself, if that's the diagnosis that he's giving to the problem, then we're in trouble because it's inaccurate. And if we're going to move from there and moving forward, the problem will persist because now we must also qualify the problem and say young people, when they want to start businesses, they cannot access funds. Young people, when they want to start businesses, they cannot get enough support. Before we even go to the economy, I mean, we do have resources in this country that we can enable or even stimulate small businesses,
sure,
being the first solution to the bigger problems.
So entrepreneurship, in other words, if you supported that, then you will minimize the problem of young people having to earn the experience first or develop the experience first before they go out seeking employment.
It's part of the solution.
Yeah.
The government also needs to come into play in terms of administration, in terms of saving, in terms of developing the guys who are already there, sure, in business, in terms of helping them to trade.
Okay.
So it's a two-sided
You can
thing.
come in here in your response to this point made by the president. What did you think of the president's comment there?
Look, I think the president is just trying to be factional, to say the economy has been doing bad in recent years. You could see he's trying to mention something that it has been in the hands of leadership of some people. It has been problematic, while he is ignoring legitimate facts that the problem of our economy, it is entirely on the basis that we do not own it. The state does not own this economy, and therefore you can't expect the economy to grow nicodemously like that without you owning it. We have said that the state must be the custodian of the land. We have said that we must expropriate this land without compensation. We must nationalize these mines, and the banks, we must have a state bank, which is very significant. I mean, you cannot speak about, improving your economy and you exclude all these things.
Sure.
It is absolutely.
And Butanani, what is your view then of what the president said?
No, look, the problem, I think, as we agree that one, it's a lack of participation. Well, it's not voluntarily, but it's systematically created to exclude lots of our people from participating in economic opportunities. Now, for instance, take the issue of experience that has been the requirement to entry-level jobs. I think the move to say that we must scrap the experience as a requirement for entry-level jobs is a step into a right direction. But I think, like we had said, it's more important to invest in the human resource, particularly through
Sure.
skills and so on.
But I want to raise a couple of points, right? And I want you guys to deal with them around this question before I go to the other issues that you raised. There's question of ownership of the economy, and then an argument can be made that the state already has its own entities, right? And you look at the performance of those entities and what has happened to them in recent times, if you talk about ownership, for instance. And then you talk about all the issues of exclusion. And the question becomes, who's excluding who? And what about the policies that we have in the country at the moment that by their very nature may be working against young people? As an example, I can imagine the unions will say, how can you employ a young person at a lower wage than somebody with lots of experience who's earning so much? I see that as a potential hurdle going forward, and I wonder how that is going to be overcome. And of course, why should we expect employment from somewhere else instead of talking more about, in this changing world, young people creating employment themselves? You tell me, who wants to go first?
Look, I think just before they come in, on that point, let us go and look at the recently established Ministry of Small Businesses. Let us go there and check really how many young people they have really assisted that they've made it. How many young people have, I mean, even in the NYDA, how many applications of young people with brilliant ideas? I mean, their emails, I'm sure they are packed in the storage. There's no longer space. So it is not because there is no, skilled young people with brilliant ideas. They are there. The challenge remains resources. How do you finance these ideas? It has always remained a problem. And obviously you can't...
I mean, here, the Younger said earlier on that resources are there in the country, right? When you talk about one NYDA as an example, it does have the budget. Is the budget being allocated properly, and is it going to the right people?
I think if we had listened to the chairperson of NYDA when they were speaking on the Youth Day, I think he was giving a report on the successes that the NYDA has actually registered. But most importantly, he was asking for more investment to be done in terms of plugging in money for NYDA to be able to assist. But I think the part of the main problem, like I'm saying, opportunities is what is lacking. Because look, as Peter is saying, you can have the ideas, but if there is no opportunity for you to actually execute the ideas, then it's a futile exercise. And now perhaps the question should be, we're making an argument, for instance, about free education, that you must bring in the private sector in ensuring that this is a collective responsibility of everybody, because you have companies which are owned by people who have never set their foot in South Africa, which is plugging and taking a lot of money out of the country.
Sure. Let me hear Yanga's view, obviously incorporating everything you're saying into one thought. Yanga, what do you think? I mean, what is it that practically we should be doing? I hear all the issues that you are raising here, but it's as if we don't have these things. We've got more policies, I would argue, than we need, right? We've got the state-owned enterprises. They should be leading the way and becoming an example of how to bring the employment or empowerment along the way. We've got organized business that's always engaging with government, and we've got organized labor also engaging. But for some reason, we're not able to break the back or stimulate this economy enough to make it grow and generate the opportunities.
As much as at the forefront of our agenda, we strongly advocating for young people starting their own businesses, we must also put it out there and say it is difficult. Research indicates that for a business to be successful, it needs to break that 3-year period, and not all businesses do make it, and most of them, they actually fail within that period, number one. So as I'm continuing, one I must say, there is action, there is speaking, there are policies. However, another thing that we also need to be true to ourselves is the level of discipline in these policies. Set out a policy, put the right mechanism, put the right people, and apply and execute so that they happen. The issue of small businesses of late, it has become my area of interest. And one thing which has been lacking in the dialogue is the issue of culture in our society. The issue of business, it's not instilled into our culture. It's just a high-level conversation that people like us who are privileged to sit in these spaces to discuss. Secondly, in my interaction with this topic, I've came across a program which is geared towards supporting young business people, which is implemented in Nigeria. 3 departments are geared towards supporting up-and-coming businesses.
Sure.
That's Nigeria.
Well, but in South Africa, there's also a new idea that's been introduced by the President Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's look at what he's got to say regarding the youth employment services.
We know about the extreme difficulties that poor black South Africans experience in finding employment all round without access to networks, without information about opportunities. And as we heard, they don't want favors, they want opportunities. Without exposure to the world of work, even those who even have further education often struggle to bridge the gap between learning and earning, and we are determined to confront them.
Does he go far enough in addressing your concerns in as far as opportunities and economic growth is concerned, Peter?
Oh, look, the Youth Employment Service, even when it was he himself, Cyril, when he started talking about it, we just viewed it as one of those rhetorics that, you know, any party will put when they are going to the electoral conferences. Yeah.
Well, I think we must accept the initiative, particularly in line with the pronouncement he made on June 16 of experience, because I think also the aim behind it was to give young people an opportunity to get the experience. But what we should be worried about is the sustainability, because the business, if it's going to employ you for a period of 2 years, what then happens after 2 years when you get that experience? So I think it's a sustainability of...
And the younger?
My main concern is the execution. We've had a lot of these programs, as you had said before the clip. However, we seem not to have the energy and the drive to see them through, so that we can then say, we've had this amount of success, these are the adjustments that we need to do. So I'll sit back and watch. However, history it has shown us that these initiatives, they don't become successful.
Okay, we will be picking up on some of the issues that you have already raised. We'll be talking about safety, related issues, and education in a moment. And of course, you also can be part of this conversation on social media. Twitter, hashtag is the Modise Network.